Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How you doing? Yours truly, Brandon Rutherman, host of the College Football Kickoff Show, and in this particular instance, the College Football Kickoff Show season preview. We got a lot to cover in a short amount of time to do it all in, so let me tell you what I got cooking up. First off, the first 2 weeks have been finalized in terms of our lanyard selection games. The first full week will be done here in this very humble abode that I call home, and the first official trip to Cameron Stadium 1 week later for the second full Saturday of college football. So much going on, and it'll be a season unlike anything that we have ever witnessed in our lifetimes. Believe me. I kid you not. When you think of all the realignment, the expansion of the college football playoff, not to mention my own expansion of having a new selfie stick quad pod for those trips to Cameron. It's getting its initiation right now, doing the season preview. And oh yes, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the headset mic. Something for perhaps college football 25. Could I possibly be broadcasting some games? Maybe. But nothing's etched in stone. Nothing. But I will tell you what is etched in stone. We're going to get right down to it. As you know, August 24th will be the season premiere of the College Football Kickoff Show. We're only making 3 picks, but we'll find a way to fill the void that otherwise gets filled up with, let's see, game day picks, helmet displays, lanyards to wear around my neck, and making sure that I have all the fun in doing it all. That's the basic 4-pronged premise. Picking games, displaying helmets, wearing lanyards, and having a whole lot of fun. August 24th, there will only be 3 games of note on television. And it was brought to my attention just, I think, either yesterday or the day before that ESPN will, in fact, air 2 games that Saturday. We know about Florida State and Georgia Tech, which will be played in Dublin. But they'll also be carrying an FCS matchup between North Alabama, who we saw last year, and I mistook them as Northern Arizona. North Alabama will be at it again. This year, they're playing Southeast Missouri State. So, while we do know that ESPN is covering that game, we do not, however, know of the actual kickoff for it. Doesn't hurt to watch a little FCS football. Really, it doesn't. I mean, it's the next step in the college football evolution. The rich get richer, and, well, there's only one way to go. I mean, for a lot of these FCS schools, a lot of them are going to, I would imagine, and maybe not in the foreseeable future, but I'd imagine that in due time, some of them will be making the jump. I mean, we've already seen it happen with James Madison. We've already seen it happen with Jacksonville State, Sam Houston this year, Kennesaw State. There's going to be a lot of maneuvering going on. We may not see it in the foreseeable future, but make no mistake, in due time, could be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. I'm reminded of a song lyric, actually, so eloquently written by Neil Peart in the Rush song Tom Sawyer. Change is not permanent, but change is. So while we try to look through that crystal ball knowing that we don't have any answers for that. We do have answers for what we got in front of us beginning. Not so much with the August 24th premiere of the College Football Kickoff show, but the first full slate of games that I will be picking that will all be nationally televised on channels that only I get. And that excludes the SEC network, by the way, just so you know. Week 1 will be done right here in my humble abode, and these will be the games, 24 in all, that I will be picking from. Georgia versus Clemson, which will be in Atlanta. Gee, I wonder who came up with that idea. Austin Peay at Louisville. Penn State at West Virginia. Virginia Tech and Vanderbilt. UConn at Maryland. Indiana State at Purdue. Miami at Florida. FIU at Indiana. Akron at Ohio State. Thanks for playing, Akron. Ohio at Syracuse. North Dakota at Iowa State. UTEP at Nebraska. Miami of Ohio at Northwestern. Colorado State at Texas. Western Kentucky at Alabama. UNLV at Houston. Fresno State at Michigan. Notre Dame and Texas A&M. UCLA at Hawaii. Idaho and my Oregon Ducks. Georgia State at Georgia Tech. Just what Georgia Tech needs. A fly home, short work week, and you got to play Georgia State. You're in one of your in-state rivals. And Georgia State's no pushover either. New Mexico at Arizona. Wyoming at Arizona State. And Weber State against Washington. And that's just the first week of Lanyard selection games. What I now have in my hand will be the first Lanyard selection games that I'll be picking in my first game at Cameron for W&J's home opener against St. Vincent College. And I got to tell you something. It's not too bad of a list here, considering that the first one off the top should tell you right away it's probably going to be one of those designated big ones. Texas at Michigan. It'll likely be one of those big ones. Bowling Green at Penn State. Akron at Rutgers. Again, Akron, thanks for playing. Georgia Tech at Syracuse. Georgia Tech just doesn't get any time off for anything, do they? Arkansas at Oklahoma State. South Carolina at Kentucky. Charlotte at North Carolina. That would be the University of Charlotte. Used to be UNC Charlotte, but they just shrunk it to Charlotte. Northern Illinois at Notre Dame. Cal at Auburn. Iowa State at Iowa. Baylor at Utah. Eastern Michigan at Washington. Michigan State at Maryland. South Dakota at Wisconsin. Virginia at Wake Forest. South Florida at Alabama. Kansas at Illinois. Tennessee at NC State. Actually, that's a neutral site game, by the way. Stupid me forgot to put versus instead of at. Nevertheless, Tennessee, NC State. Western Michigan at Ohio State. Colorado at Nebraska. Guess who I'm picking in that one? Appalachian State at Clemson. Texas Tech at Washington State. Liberty at New Mexico State. Mississippi State at Arizona State. And Utah State at USC. I was going to say state. A lot of states. That would be kind of funny, though. Southern California State. It just doesn't... They could beat USC. Anyway, That's just the first 2 full weeks of lanyard selections. The rest will all be flexed in conjunction with whatever networks are covering whatever games they're covering. And that's only the beginning of the slate here. I am going to stick with the Cameron portion of things for a little bit here because there's 2 important Saturdays in a stretch of 3 weeks, 3 straight home games on Saturday at W&J College. And I am going to start with October 19th. It'll be a night game against Grove City. Now, both teams in the Lindy's college football preview issue have them ranked in the top 25 in the preseason rankings. It would be awesome, beyond awesome, if we can go in and play 60 minutes, 60 punishing minutes of football and take them out. But beggars can't be choosers here. You guys already know who I'm picking. I'm an employee of the college. I have to pick W&J. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, and besides, our athletic director is watching what you're watching right now. And I didn't have anything planned for this. But a couple of days ago, it finally dawned on me that if we're going to do a game of this magnitude, and we pretty much have to, it is as big as it should be for 2 teams who are likely going to be in the conversation towards the end of the season. And oh, by the way, speaking of expansion, when you think about the college football playoff, it isn't just happening in major college football. It's happening in D3 too, just so you know. I have devised a plan for that Saturday in which most of the games, in fact, all of the games in the 12 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. windows will get picked right here. And the remaining games from, I'm going to go ahead and say 6 p.m. on, and there won't be many of them, but the remaining ones will be picked on site at Cameron, rain or shine. And it took a couple of years, but we finally have a plan for prime time. We're going to go prime time for the first time in a long time. But the first time ever at W&J. So, there is that, and there's also backtracking to what I guess would be week 7. Week 7. The Saturday of October the 12th, there should be a name for this. And I'm hoping there is, because it's hands down the biggest Saturday of big game college football that you'll find all year. Let me just give you the matchups. This is all you need to know. Stanford and Notre Dame. We'll mention that one first. Notre Dame should win that one. 3:30 kickoff on NBC. The rest of them don't have times, nor do they have networks that will broadcast them, but let me just give you those games. Texas and Oklahoma. Florida at Tennessee. Getting the goosebumps? Iowa State at West Virginia. Ole Miss at LSU. Washington at Iowa. Penn State at USC. And last but not least, Ohio State and Oregon. If that doesn't get your blood pumping, you're not human. Just those games alone, just the mentioning of those games has got me all jacked up right now. So, yes, it is going to be fun picking those games from Cameron. This is going to be my Saturday of Saturdays. I mean, really, we should have a name for it, but we don't have one right now. Certainly, not at this very moment. But that's just a short list of what we got to look forward to this fall with the College Football Kickoff Show. Now, we are going to shift gears momentarily and talk a little bit about that other season, the College Football 25 season, the one that I'm going to be doing on my own. One in which does not involve taking one team and playing dynasty mode with it. No, that's not how I roll. The object of my season, quite simply put, is that number one, I play offense and only offense because, let's face it, I make Akron's defense look like a bunch of All-Americans. Why am I picking on Akron? Yeah. Continue to pick on Akron. That's not cool. Make note to self, one day you're going to wear an Akron Zips t-shirt and people are going to laugh at you for it. Okay. So, I don't plan on playing any Akron games unless they're bowling. So, anyway, this season, for yours truly, for the college football video game, which is less than 2 weeks away, for yours truly. Sound like a broken record. Yours truly has to wait less than 2 more weeks to finally play this thing that we've been waiting forever and a day for. Gamers all over the country and basically around the world. It's going to be like a holiday for them. A lot of them are waiting until the 19th. I, however, have got the early access 3 days early. So basically, once the game is made official and it's playable, we're going to dive right into it, check everything out for detail-oriented purposes to make sure that they did everything they said they did, making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And I like to think they did, but at the same time, from the standpoint of actually doing the games, I have devised a regular season package and a postseason package. Here's what is likely going to happen. For this regular season package, all games that I will be doing will be featuring any 2 top 25 teams or any single game between the 2 highest ranked teams in the top 25 rankings. When I did college football's video game over a decade ago, that was exactly how I did it. We played every top 25 matchup that was on the board. Once I had an idea of the rankings and just looking at the schedule of games and finding out who I was going to play, what games I was going to play, that was going to be the go-to. So we're going to it again. But if time does not allow me to do it in that fashion, that's why that contingency plan is centered on taking one game featuring the 2 highest ranked teams on the slate for that particular weekend. Once the rankings come out after a certain week gets played, then we do it again the same way with any 2 new teams for that upcoming week. And we keep going and going until we get to basically the postseason, which leads us to the postseason game package. Very simple. All conference championship games, bowl games, and college football playoff games, including the national championship, will be played. No exceptions. And besides, it's fun playing bowl games. It really is. It's fun watching them too. That's why I wanted to devise something for any of you that are bored with what's currently on TV right now. We're basically trying to get a jump start on things so that you're ready for the real thing that's coming in August. The whole trick, of course, is to start the season a few weeks in advance. Try to get it down to where, I don't know, maybe around bowl season, where I could play the bowls and watch the bowls at the same time. I don't know. We don't have a contingency for that one. But nevertheless, we have two packages, one for the regular season and one for the postseason. Postseason's pretty simple. And I like to think you guys may have gotten it figured out on the college football regular season. But in case you need an example, I'll give you one. Texas and Michigan, which will officially open their season in week 1. I'd imagine both teams will be ranked, so I will likely be playing Texas and Michigan. If there is one team that's ranked and another is not, that game will be simulated. In other words, Penn State in all likelihood would be ranked. They would play West Virginia to open the season, and if West Virginia isn't ranked, we don't play it. But I am leaving that window for that Penn State-West Virginia game open just a crack. Just a crack, and I'll tell you why. I have another idea that involves what I like to refer to as specialty games. In the first one, the only one really that's etched in stone is the Army-Navy game, which makes perfect sense. By that time, I will have the option game figured out. Whether it's the triple option, the wishbone, the flex bone, whatever bone both schools run, whatever service academies run, hey, we'll have it all figured out just in time for that game. It's really the right thing to do to play the Army-Navy game. The only problem I have with the game isn't the game itself. The game itself will be, nipped in the butt. It's a question of where the game would take place at. Now, to my understanding, the Army-Navy game this year is being played at FedEx Field, home of the Washington Commanders. Now, I don't know if they're going to have the FedEx Field stadium in the game for College Football 25, but if not, I'm going to be looking at other stadium possibilities. And if it's something that I can't do up a replacement for, then we'll just either play it in Annapolis or at West Point. I do recall an Army-Navy game played, I think, just a couple years ago, as a matter of fact. I think it was played in Annapolis, I think. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of options there as far as specialty games go, and for that matter, neutral site games, which goes back to Florida State and Georgia Tech playing at Dublin, Ireland. Now, if they have something in the way of what Dublin has in the way of a football stadium for the game, we'll play it. Otherwise, I'm thinking Florida State and Georgia Tech will have to, first of all, it could be played at Georgia Tech because Georgia Tech's the home team for this one. But there's also the possibility, with the freedom and the flexibility given to us to realign the conferences the way we want to realign them, we could have a situation where I could conjure up a quote-unquote kickoff classic. And I already have ideas on the brain for that. Could I possibly have an Oregon-Alabama kickoff classic? I could. Doesn't mean I'm going to, but I could. Could I possibly have a game involving two teams that in reality are playing FCS opponents on the same weekend play against each other. There is one case where we have rather, I think Miami playing Florida A&M or somebody down there. I think it's Florida A&M. And West Virginia is playing Albany. And I got this idea of perhaps having Miami and West Virginia play against each other, just to give me an excuse to have at least one West Virginia home game to play in the event that they don't get ranked or anything. But there are a lot of options here. Yes, I'd love to play any game involving West Virginia down in Morgantown. Sure, would love to do it for Alabama at Bryant-Denny in Tuscaloosa, and definitely Eugene, Oregon at Autzen Stadium. I would love to do all the games, all the home games for all of them. But unfortunately, I am a diplomatic person in this regard. We got to show some, we got to show the love for the game, not the teams, not necessarily the teams that play college football. Of course, I don't have any problem playing the games. You know, even if it involves, schools like USC or Oklahoma or Texas A&M, Ole Miss, LSU, schools that by and large do not sit well with me for a lot of reasons in terms of how they're being run and making news headlines for all the wrong reasons. And I'll cross that bridge when I get to it during the season. Believe me, there's a game in mind that you'll have to wait until the final Saturday in November for. No, it's not Oregon. No, it's not Alabama. It's one other one. I don't think there will be a game any bigger or getting me more pumped for an absolute bloodbath than the one that's going to happen on November the 30th. Look at the schedule if you can. Go ahead. I insist. I got something planned for it. I do. So anyway, a little something to think about for the fall, So anyway, we have the packages for the regular season, the postseason, specialty games, neutral sites, which right now we won't have any idea on how that's going to be done until we see the game. But then comes broadcasting them, which explains the headset mic. We've not tested it out as yet, but I would like to do some games for you to enjoy this year. I do take this very seriously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. And everybody, to a person more or less, had always said, you should get into broadcasting. Well, what do you think I'm doing right now? Granted, I'm not Brent Musburger. I'm not Keith Jackson, but I sure as heck can impersonate Keith Jackson until the cows come home. Whoa, Nelly! Yeah. I would love to, at the very least, try to. It wouldn't be every game. It wouldn't be every game. But we have a YouTube channel, a yet-to-be-named YouTube channel for the college football 25 season, should we go in that direction. Otherwise, we are going to take our broadcasting talents to Twitch. I have an account with Twitch that I have not used in over a year. And I did do some games, mostly Major League Baseball and the National Hockey League. At least I think I did it for both of those. But it would be an honor and a privilege to give you college football for at least, the first month or until the season starts. But there are some games that I would love to do broadcasts for, namely the Rose Bowl, namely the national championship, and maybe a few other ones. If there's one involving Oregon, and if they're ranked in the top 25 and they're playing against a top 25 opponent, I'll do that one too. Same for Alabama. Probably, hey, I can do one for West Virginia. I'm not exactly Tony Caridi, but I'll do my best. Yeah, so once we get all of this finalized, then we'll be ready to come out of the tunnel with the smoke and everything else and let you all know that it's game on. So there you have it, folks. That was our season preview for the College Football Kickoff Show. We're already set for the first, basically, 3 weeks of the season, and we still have less than 2 weeks before we get the hands wrapped around the controllers and start pressing all the buttons from the X's to the O's to the squares to the triangles and all the other ones in between. So we try to bring you the best of college football on College Football 25 all this fall, all right here. It's been fun, folks. Have yourselves a great one. And we'll be talking with you all very soon. This has been the College Football Kickoff Show season preview on Facebook and YouTube. And stupid me, I forgot to do this. Yeah, play it again, Sam. Thank you. That's the ride out. Hey, we're a little rusty. But we got all year to shake it off. We're going to shake it off better than Taylor Swift, I can promise you that. From all of me to all of you, BR signing off for the College Football Kickoff Show season preview. Good night, everybody.